Hi, and welcome to my little booktube channel. My name is Bryndís, and in today's video, I'm gonna do a book review. My second book review on this channel. I'm quite looking forward to talking about this book. But the book I want to talk about is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman. I cannot wait to start to talk about this book. It was a book that I read at the end of 2023, and it was in my top 5 of that year, and I think actually it was probably my favorite book that I read in 2023. It was an amazing book. Now, before we go any further, I'm gonna try very hard not to have spoilers in this book, in this review. Sorry, I don't want to spoil the book for anybody, but it might accidentally happen, and maybe I won't realize it. So just be warned. Oh, my cat! Of course, he had to start playing. Anyway, so if you really don't want any risk of being spoiled, go read the book and then come back to the video later. We can have a discussion in the comments about it. But yes, so this book, like I said, I read it in November, so it's 4 months ago almost, and it had such an impact on me. I'm still thinking about it. I still get like goosebumps and some like almost emotional to think about some of the things in the book. And I went in reading it without knowing anything about it, other than just like the very general blurb on the about the book, and I think that's probably the best way to go about it. I mean, you should know that it does talk about abuse and loneliness and hints at possible suicides. So just know, if you're very sensitive to those topics, maybe this is not the book for you. But if you are emotionally stable, or at least willing to deal with these difficult themes, then this book is 100% for you. And I would actually recommend it. I read it as I was myself going through bereavement, and I think that it really helped me to think about the grief that I was going through through this book in certain ways. So it's not a bad book to read if you are in a sensitive state like that. But just be prepared. Be prepared. Anyway, yeah. So let's talk about the book. So before we go into the book, though, let's talk about the author a little bit, just so we know who wrote it. The author is Gail Honeyman. She is Scottish, and this was her debut novel, and it was published in 2017. And apparently, so far at least, it's her only book. Although after I was Googling about her a little bit, I found out that she does have a book coming out late this year or early next year. So I am definitely looking forward to that. Anyway. So Honeyman has stated that the character of Eleanor, who is the main character in the book, grew out of this kind of newspaper articles that she was reading about this growing pandemic of loneliness, at least in the UK, and I'm sure it's a worldwide thing. And there were people being interviewed that were saying that sometimes they will go home when they leave work on Friday afternoon, and until they go back to work, arrive at work on Monday morning, they may not talk to anybody throughout the weekend. And to be honest, actually, that does not sound too bad to me sometimes. I like the quiet and the calmness of being alone in the weekends, for sure. reading. But of course, I understand what he's saying, that there are a lot of people who don't have anybody even if they want to have somebody to spend time with, and are feeling super lonely. And it's a very serious topic, and it's something that I think can possibly affect a lot of us. Anyway, so the book, Eleanor Oliphant. So the story follows Eleanor, obviously. So she's a woman in her late 20s. I think she's 29 in the book. And she lives a very ordinary life, as she says. She's very structured. So she goes to work always the same way, like in, obviously the same route, but like she takes exactly the same steps every day. Go to work, does her work, goes this place for lunch, goes, blah, 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 blah. It's exactly the same every single day. Then she goes home, she maybe reads the paper or something, or reads some sort of read something. In the weekend, she just drinks vodka and is drunk and just waits for Monday. She doesn't seem to have any connection with other people. She doesn't interact with her co-workers. She doesn't interact really with her boss. She doesn't seem to have any friends or family, except on Wednesdays she talks with mommy for 10 minutes. She's very proper. Like, she seems to have this idea that she's this kind of upper class lady in the 1920s or something. Speaks with 100% correct grammar, thanks to mommy. And but she's not necessarily poor, but she's definitely not well off. And she has like no filter, so she just says what she's thinking, which is not always what you should do in social situations. So she's super awkward socially, and has absolutely no awareness of how you talk or treat other people. So you are like kind of following her, and she's like her self-talk in this book is sometimes hilarious. Oh my god, it's sometimes so funny. But anyway, so she's just kind of living her life, and then she sees this man, and she falls in love with him. She doesn't know him, but she's like, oh, there he is, the man I'm supposed to marry. And she falls in love with him, and she's kind of determined to have him. She follows him on Twitter, and like seems to think she knows him because of his tweets, and she becomes completely obsessed with him and starts to like reinvent herself, or like she has goes and like has like a makeover, and then also a co-worker starts to kind of befriend her, and I'm not sure if he is interested in her romantically or not, because her narration is only about that other guy that she's gonna marry, right? That he doesn't know her, but she's gonna marry him. So I don't know if her coworker is romantically interested in her, or if he's just wanting to interact with her and can see that she's very lonely and just wants to be a nice person. But their friendship develops, and it's really interesting, and kind of her circle of people that she interacts with starts to expand, and she also goes to therapy, and it's just like, so her life definitely changes quite a lot throughout the span of this book. And kind of from like after the first chapters, the story just kind of starts to unravel, and people, it is a ride. Oh my god, it is a ride. So Eleanor is the narrator, right? But she's definitely not a reliable narrator. I mean, she just kind of says things the way she sees them, but sometimes we do get glimpses into how other people treat her or see her. And I mean, she's really basically been bullied at work and made fun of, but she doesn't see that because she is so proper and correct. so everybody else is wrong. And the makeover that she gets, yeah, it's hilarious. That doesn't quite work like go as planned. And there's one thing that is so funny, like if somebody calls her, which happens almost never, sometimes he will answer it like, oh, like in a ghostly voice or something, and I don't know, it just, her self-talk is just, it's so funny, and I laughed out loud quite a lot as I was listening to this book. Oh my god, it's so funny. And but these kind of hilarious things that happen that she's talking about, at the same time as they are funny and hilarious, they're also kind of showing us how utterly alone and lonely she is, and how alienated sorry, from society she is. And so even those funny things that are happening, they're so sad, and you just feel so sorry for this poor woman, but you're not. And I think that the author talked about that she doesn't want people to see her as a victim, and I feel that she does kind of get that across. So you really do feel sorry for her, and you want to just kind of help her out, but at the same time, she's not necessarily a very likable person, and she is kind of just going on with her life, so she's not like this fragile little victim. Anyway, so, but the feelings, oh my god. The feelings in this book evoke in me is like insane. Like both are fun, like as I said, it's hilarious at times, and I just laughed and laughed. But I also cried and cried while reading this book, because she just wrote that despair of loneliness so well, and the heartache of Eleanor and everything that she's been through is so deep, but it's also revealed throughout the story quite very well and quite slowly, so you like don't even completely realize it until like and just, anyway, I'm sure it's not easy to write about the abuse and the gloom and the loneliness and the sadness and everything that is happening without it becoming just totally like miserable to read. But the author does that really well, and it's done in a way that you're almost caught off guard in it. So you're just like, whoa, because you kind of think at first that it's gonna be a funny story, but you very quickly realize that no, Eleanor is not completely fine at all. Anyway, so, but it's very emotionally demanding book, at least if you're like me and you tend to cry easily from reading emotionally charged books. So it's quite demanding, but anyway, it's really good. And it was a book that definitely reminded me of why I really love to read, but also like why I like to listen to audiobooks, because it was really well narrated, and that is always a big plus. And I was just fixated as I was listening to it, like I couldn't like not, I was just like, I finished it in a very short time, and it completely captivated me. So 5 stars, my top 5, probably my top book, best book, my favorite book of last year, and it will stay with me, I think, forever. It was such an impactful book. I hope you enjoyed my little review of Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and I would love to hear your thoughts of the book if you read it, or if you're interested in reading it, in the comments below. Please let us have a chat. Did it impact you the way it did me, or do you disagree with something that I said, or agree with it? Anyway, what do you think? I would love to hear from you. But other than that, I think we're done for today. So thank you for watching, and bye bye.